Hello, I'm Raphael, and these are my 38 countries. Today, we're going to talk about South Africa. The first thing that is to say about South Africa is obviously it's summer there when it's winter on the northern hemisphere. So if you're from Europe or from the US, it might be a really nice getaway from the cold, especially in winter. Another factor is affordability. If you come from Europe, then obviously South Africa will appear as inexpensive to you, be it, taking an Uber, going to a restaurant, even a really good one, or even hotels. Everything will feel inexpensive and quite affordable to you. That's definitely a big plus of South Africa. So let's talk about the infrastructure. Streets are in most places kind of okay, but obviously not very good. Electricity is probably the biggest issue. So in South Africa, you've had load shedding for a couple of years now, and it's getting actually worse and worse. It can really happen that the power will be gone for almost a day with not much upfront notice, because today they're doing a maintenance. And I'm not just talking about weekends, it actually happens very often on weekdays as well. And even if the power is not gone for a whole day, then it might be gone for a couple of hours. Luckily, there's an app where you can sort of look up the times, so it's not always unexpected, but it's typically too long, and it's a real issue if you want to get work done and are not just a typical tourist. Another factor is internet speeds. I had the impression that internet speeds are quite varied. Sometimes they advertise that they have gigabit internet, but in reality, it's not always that fast. Be it because the internet connection in theory is fast, but the Wi-Fi is just misconfigured, or the router is a really bad quality router with old firmware and things like these. I've actually seen all that. So on average, the internet speeds are okay if you don't have very high demands, but be aware that just like the electricity, it tends to be unreliable and not super fast. That's a real issue. If you want something better, there's many other places in the world where you can get more reliable and faster internet. And of course, for the lovers of co-working spaces, which I know there's many of you out there, there are quite a few co-working spaces in big cities like Johannesburg and Cape Town. And I have to say that some of them are actually really good. I tested a few of the Spaces brand co-working spaces, and also heard good things about the WeWork spaces in Cape Town. So if you are into co-working spaces, it's definitely a good place to do it. There are quite affordable options, especially if you sign up for Regus and Spaces with the local plans. The prices are really, really good. WeWork is a bit more expensive, but is of course on a different level in terms of quality, in terms of the service level, the buildings, and everything else. And finally, that's where you get the reliable internet speed and electricity, as many of the co-working spaces do have backup power. So even if there is load shedding, you're going to have electricity and can work properly. So I highly recommend to work from co-working spaces if efficiency and productivity is important to you while you are in South Africa.
I'm here at the Regus Business Center at the Nelson Rhodes place, and it's actually kind of nice. It looks very, very corporate. But the cool thing is I've been co-working and I still got sort of my own room, coincidentally. No guarantee that you will get it if you get here. But it's kind of nice. Like, I got my complete own room. Maybe there will be more people throughout the day. Yeah, people here are quite nice actually. There seem to be a lot of visitors because I think there's like lawyers and so on who get visitors here. So I guess don't be scared of that. It feels totally safe to me. They assured me that it's like you could even leave your stuff here over lunch break or so. No guarantee, but that's what they told me. And yeah, let's see.
So in cities like Cape Town, there is both Bolt and Uber available. However, we heard that Bolt isn't exactly reliable, and here's a video from one of our own experiences. So our driver is negotiating with the police here. He was being pulled over for not stopping at some red light or similar where you just had to stop. And also this car is not a comfort car at all, like by far not even for Cape Town standards. It looks very broken. When I reached out to Bolt support, they didn't care at all, and it sounded to me like they're not going to really do anything about it. So that's the unfortunate part. However, the experience with Uber was much better. Uber, to me, especially if you pick the slightly more expensive Uber Black, it's really reliable in cities like Cape Town. So that would be my recommendation. If you can, always go for Uber Black. It's more expensive, but depending on where you're coming from, it's still affordable. You get a really nice car, reliable drivers, it's clean, and they do follow the traffic rules, so you're gonna stay alive. So hey, Clarence, tell us a bit about yourself.
Number one is I really enjoy driving. I love talking to people. I'm a people person. I have what you would call job satisfaction. I'm getting paid for something I thoroughly enjoy. I finished from the formal work market 10 years ago when I was 60, and I've been doing this shuttling now for 10 years and loving it, loving each and every moment.
How do you survive Cape Town traffic?
Being patient. Patience.
The people in South Africa are overall really nice. They're outgoing, they're easy to approach. They will often actually approach you, welcome you, tell you everything you want to know. It's really easy to make new friends there, so that's definitely a plus. To me, it felt quite similar actually to the US, where it's typically fairly easy to meet new people, be it in a bar, restaurant, or just pretty much anywhere.
He likes my sunscreen. Or he's just hoping to get food, I think.
Both, probably.
Food in South Africa is a bit of a difficult topic. I think there is actually great food. If you look for authentic South African food, you can definitely find it. It might be slightly more expensive than sort of the average restaurant, but not too much. It's still going to be a very good price, and you can find really delicious stuff, especially if you're into meat. But even if you're not into meat, especially in Cape Town, you can find a lot of vegan and vegetarian restaurants as well, so you're going to be covered. But you have to know, you really have to look for these things. Unfortunately, as the British were there, the food that you get in an average restaurant isn't ideal. So tread carefully and check out where you're going and what you're ordering. Also be aware that in South Africa, it's fairly common, especially in the summer there, that you get digestive issues. We didn't really find out why, but it seems to be a widespread issue. So many people have it continuously the whole time they're there. So definitely be aware of that and maybe prepare some medication or even seek a doctor's advice on that. Trust me, you don't want to go to a hospital. I unfortunately had to go to a hospital. Luckily, it turned out I didn't have something too serious, but if I did have something serious, I could have died there. Because the hospitals are not very efficient. People are overworked and not really well trained, and it also seems like they're just a bit careless with personal data, as evidenced in my case that pretty much everything on all the forms I filled out was copied to their software wrong, including my email address and phone number. So it was a big mess to get the invoice. It took me actually weeks to get the invoice from the hospital and 5 different calls to different departments to get it, to claim it with my insurance. In the end, it would have been easier to not claim it with the insurance because the work was so difficult to get all the paperwork done. And of course, we have to talk about safety. That's probably the biggest con against South Africa. South Africa, on average, is really not very safe. So don't go to South Africa if you're a beginner, for a multitude of reasons. You will probably not get kidnapped, but it's very likely that some or all of your devices will be stolen. It could be pickpocketing, it could be sort of armed robbery where somebody points a gun at you, or it could be in the middle of the night when somebody comes into your apartment and steals things. These things do not happen just occasionally and in worst cases. These things happened to many of our friends. And be aware that many robberies happen during daylight. It's not just at the nighttime, it happens very often during daylight. So for example, some of our friends were robbed in broad daylight on a normal and nice pleasant day on Table Mountain, and there's not really anything you can do about it except not bringing all your stuff or not being there. Also be aware that some of the criminals are fairly advanced. They don't just steal your devices, but they will actually try to get the money from your bank account, use your credit cards to the max, or change the passwords of your email account, your Apple account, and so on. So be prepared that somebody will try to do this, and take precautions. If you have cryptocurrencies, don't put them all on your apps that are on your phone. Instead, put them on hardware wallets and stuff like this. This is really happening. To a friend of mine, for example, it happened that they stole her phone, and then they sent the friend an SMS asking for a passcode for the phone. And because they were in shock mode, they accidentally gave up the passcode to the phone, which was really, really bad. This can easily lead to your whole bank account being emptied. And it seems to happen more often, not all the time, but more often. Many of the criminals start being fairly sophisticated in South Africa. It is also recommendable to actually do a safari while you are in South Africa. Again, be aware all your devices might be gone due to various reasons, be it robberies or them being sunk in a river, but definitely do it if you're into this kind of stuff. You can do game drives, you can just do trips through the nature. You can do all sorts of different safaris. It can be more animal oriented to see some rhinos or zebras and other big animals. Or you can also just be more nature focused, go hiking with a tour group or go swimming in a river. I feel like South Africa is being hyped a bit, and especially Cape Town, for digital nomads. So many digital nomads I know really like going there, or at least say they like going there and do it every now and then. I actually want to talk about the positive sides, but also a bit about the negative sides, because I think that sometimes South Africa, especially at the moment, gets a bit too much glamour than it really deserves. What is really, really amazing in South Africa, I would say, are the landscapes. If you're into beaches, you're going to find that. If you're into mountains, you can find that as well. And if you're just into beautiful green nature, that's there as well. So you can also go for really, really nice hikes, especially in Cape Town, the whole area around the Table Mountain, for example. That's a really nice area to go for a hike or to see the world famous botanical garden. Let's do a short conclusion about South Africa, and especially the cities of Cape Town and Johannesburg. Overall, I think you can have a lot of nice experiences in South Africa. But South Africa is also really dangerous, and the infrastructure overall isn't very good. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be getting better right now. It seems to be getting worse. So the next couple of years, don't expect things to be dramatically better. I have to say that you should not go to South Africa if you're not an experienced traveler. The risk is just way too high that you're going to get robbed, that all your devices are gone. So only go there if you're either a tourist and don't bring so many devices, or if you're a fairly seasoned traveler and really know about what to do if you get robbed and so on. The risk is just really, really high, and I cannot say this enough because people constantly underestimate it, and then really, really bad things happen to them. On the other hand, of course, you can actually experience many nice things. The South Africans are super nice people, and you can see things that you might not be able to see anywhere else. So it probably makes sense to go there someday, but be really prepared and do prepare for the worst so that you are not sorry about it afterwards. I also have to say that even in winter, there are some other really good places. there are still the Canary Islands, there is still Dubai, and of course, there are still so many nice places in Asia. So if you're looking for something nice in winter, don't be fooled. South Africa is not the only place you can go to. Do your research. There are many alternatives. And then one day when you're ready, you can actually go to South Africa and enjoy the Kruger National Park or Cape Town or the areas around Johannesburg. That's it from me for today. If you like this video, like and subscribe to my channel to see even more videos like this in the future about being a digital nomad software developer throughout the world. And of course, if you agree with me with what I presented, tell me. If you don't, also tell me. I'm curious to hear how your experience in South Africa might have been, if it's maybe a different one. As always, write it in the comments. I'm looking forward to hearing your opinions, and see you in the next video.